Just because I paid Lobola. Who asked you? Did anyone tie your shoelace? Did anyone arrest you? Did anyone send you to my house?
As an African man who is so cultural, I would stand with the payments of Lobola. It's still something that is relevant to our culture.
Even if you look at the price now, it's so high that it's like they're selling a person here. And you see that is.
But then after colonialism, when the white men were starting to say, you're selling your children, you're selling your daughters, that's when people started to say, oh, indeed, we are being sold.
Paying my bride price doesn't mean that I'm automatically submissive to you.
So the guy was like, I can't deal with you.
But what do you think men are looking for in a woman? Because
one of our popular socialites would say bumakwitis. Men look for a woman they can really walk on.
I'm not that kind of a woman. I'm a woman who's going to tell you your nose is too big and your nose is too big. Full stop. Get it fixed. Whatever.
I see why she was laughing.
When you are there for me, when you pamper me, when you're showering me with love, I will obviously be on your knees.
There's a difference between what you think men want in a woman and what they actually want. They want to be a career woman. Most men don't care about your career.
And I don't care whether you like it or you won't like it, but I'm going to do things my way.
So why do our needs as men get sidelined when it comes to relationships?
The Bible says marriage is not for everyone. If you don't like my ambitions and whatever, then move over.
You see, when a woman ends up with a guy that beats her, I'm pretty sure there were signs that guy was a wife beater or a violent person before they got married, and she ignored those signs.
If you want to be a man, be a man. Stop being boys.
Everybody has shifted from why God created marriage in the first place.
This is the generation of women who are not compromising.
And people have forgotten that they are beneficiaries in marriage. They are not their sole proprietor.
The other thing that most girls do is they go for the same 20% of those hot guys that everyone is looking for, and ignore all the other guys that might not be really cute, but that will really take care of them.
Lobola was actually a man-made idea that actually came with Abraham. It was not Abraham who went and asked for the bride price. He felt taking whatever he needed to take to give to the family as an appreciation. Some of the most stubborn women and the most difficult people to marry are Christian women.
Okay.
Bring it home, sister. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Admire's Close-Up. This is your main man speaking, Admire Manyange, and today, for the very, very first time in the studio, we have a panel. 4 gentlemen, 2 ladies, and I must say, I'm going to be very careful with my words because one of them is a lawyer, guys. Joining us from Polokwane, all the way from South Africa, Mr. Eddie. And we have a pastor again, so we're going to have a lot of the word of God and, spiritual advice and stuff. We've got Pastor Tapelo in the house, and he is joining us from Florida, Johannesburg, South Africa. We have Brother Vincent joining us from Romania in Europe, and we've got Dumisani joining us from Dallas, Texas, United States of America. We also have Clarice joining us from Mutare, live from Zimbabwe, and we've got Speedo, the sassy babe from Diamond FM, joining us tonight, and we're gonna be having such an awesome moment discussing about relationships and marriages and exactly what is going on. And these guys right here are gonna tell us all about it, what they think, and what is happening. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Admire's Close-Up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Amazing. You see, there's been a lot of changes happening with the new generation leaving the old ways and adapting to new changes. Particularly, I think in Africa, the young people are adapting to the Western kind of life. And we know from African culture that people are into paying lobola and stuff like that. So, what is your take? Do you think paying lobola is still something that is relevant? Mr. Ed, you want to go for it first?
All right. Thank you so much, guys. As an African man who is so cultural, I would stand with the payments of Lobola. It's still something that is relevant to our culture, and I would want to say that Africans, we have to stand with Africans and stick to our culture and continue doing whatever we're doing, whatever that is happening across the world in other continents. If you want to trace back into history, you will find out that it's their culture. That's part of their culture. So I will stand with the payment of Lobola as something that is still relevant nowadays.
Thank you, Mr. Eddie. But I don't know about the relevance now, because we know people have things they stand for. People have their perceptions and beliefs and stuff, but is it still relevant? Looking at how culture is changing and evolving and these new technologies and I don't know, is it still relevant? Do you think it's still relevant, Mr. Tapela?
Good evening. It's evening on our side, so good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
So well, I don't think it's actually still relevant as such, but I would say maybe it needs restructuring, because the way it's being done now, it's completely being misunderstood. If you look at it, most parents now are actually not building up families anymore. They are just making money out of it, out of their daughters. So that's first thing that I'm looking at it now. And two, because of it is so expensive, most men feel entitled to ownership instead of companionship. So instead of them marrying for the right reasons, they now, think that they actually have a servant that they need to purchase. And that is why I feel that this could be one of the contributing factor to gender-based violence or domestic violence, as it's being called somewhere else. So for me, I'm reserving my comments on saying it's still relevant. I think it's either need to be restructured or truly is not relevant at all.
Interesting. So would you rather say it's making women look like commodities? Is Lobola making women look like they're not, like you just, like, it's, you get into spa, you buy your thing kind of thing, is that what it has become?
I think that's how it has become now, because of the fact that now, even if you look at the price now, it's so high that it's like they're selling a person here. And you see, that is why when even guys put money to do that, they feel like they're buying this person. That's why whenever challenges of marriage comes, they feel like, look, I've purchased high money for you, so you cannot be doing 1, 2, 3. So it has went through or away from companionship to totally something else that it's very new.
Very new. Interesting. Anybody with different thoughts to that? Clarice, you want to come in?
I think I agree with you to a certain extent, and the thing is, Lobola and as in its like original form, it was never harmful. It was a way of binding families, of building families, like that sort of thing. But as he said, these days it's as if you are selling. People are trying to. They say, I send my child to school. I send my daughter to school whose son didn't go to school. Everyone went to school. It was your role as a parent to send your children to school. So at the end of the day, let's build relationships. It's actually destroying relationships and families. And I have this maybe some people say it's I'm trying to blame the colonies, but if you really notice, like in history, like our ancestors, the people before us, they had nothing bad to say about Lobola, and it was never an income generation activity or project. But then after colonialism, when the white men were starting to say, you're selling your children, you're selling your daughters, that's when people started to say, oh, indeed, we are being sold, indeed. But in the beginning, we were never sold. It was just a way of binding families, and because we understood it as a bad thing, now people are trying to make money out of it because they understood it as an income generation activity. That's all I have to say for now. Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Like, so the colonizers came to enlighten
and try to make our culture, our cultural activities ugly. But then it wasn't even ugly in the beginning. It was a beautiful thing, a beautiful ceremony to bind families together.
Interesting. I mean, I'm trying to imagine if women would also, if at some point, or if the odds were different and it was the women's duty to pay Lobola to men, how it was going to look like.
I would pay.
Interesting one. But I mean, I still think we cannot really abolish this, because I mean, it's an old tradition. It's been there for years. And Mr. Vincent, you want to come in?
I disagree with both of these speakers who say that marriage, Lobola is becoming irrelevant. First of all, the reasons that you guys gave for the irrelevance of Lobola are things that are found in other societies that do not participate in Lobola. Gender-based violence, you see it in America. It happens there. Nobody pays bridal price. They still beat their wives, right? And trying to extract money from the other person's family or the in-law is something that is found there. It's even more so in those cultures. Not only does the other family wants to extract money from you, your wife, when she divorces you, she is trying to get half of your stuff, even your kids and so on and so forth. So there is a difference between a custom serving a purpose and it being perfect, right? So if Lobola is supposed to be abolished because of imperfections, why not abolish every other social institution that has imperfections? For example, marriage itself is not perfect. Some people, like we said, they beat up each other. Some people end up divorcing. They raise kids poorly and all those problems. Marriage itself has problems. So should we abolish marriage too because it has imperfections? No. So the reasons that were given before that Lobola is now imperfect or is irrelevant, so it should be abolished, those reasons are irrelevant. The last thing I'll say is bridal price was a form of payment to validate a contract, right? The reason why I'm using legal terminology here is just for illustration. In modern economies, for you to get attorney-client privilege, for example, you have to pay. You have to have like something that is noticeable. Like, for example, in movies, you might have noticed somebody has to give the lawyer $1 for them to establish prior relationship, for them to gain attorney-client privilege, right? RORA as a payment serves the same purpose. As historically, if you look at bride price as a payment that is used to save or validate customary marriages. So in most African society, it is about strengthening family bonds that are created by marriage and to legitimize children that are born to those marriages. Through social evolution, cultural customs that emerge and that we see today, they have a valid function, right? So whatever problems that may exist because of Rora right now, they exist within a context where they still serve a purpose. That's why people continue doing it. Social evolution dictates that if something stops serving a particular purpose, people will abandon doing those things. And one of those things, last point, is in our culture in Zimbabwe, there is a way that people would get married. You just go and grab somebody's daughter, lock them in your house, and then after that, negotiate marriage terms. Very few people, if any, do that now because it has overstayed its customary purpose, and nobody does that anymore. And if marriage is going to be abolished, it has to happen naturally, not by legislative power or any social engineering.
Wow, that's quite insightful. I mean, I was just listening to the speakers that just spoke just now, but you mentioned something here, Mr. Vincent. You said that there are some issues that were raised with the previous speakers when they said, for example, the gender-based violence, you said it still happens even in the Western countries without having Lobola. I just got an interest in that. What is actually causing that? If we maybe rule out Lobola, what do you think might be the main thing causing that? Because I actually also bought into the whole Lobola causing gender-based violence, And I was like, okay, so what is causing that? Is it men? Are they bad?
Somebody will have to do a study on that. But what I said just establishes the fact that you cannot find variables in one particular problem, right, that are found in another problem that has different causes, and say that, oh, this is just because of this and because of that. Where we are going now is to a point where we are using empiricism to say, if gender-based violence is caused by Rora, why are people in Luxembourg, where there is nothing like that, still committing gender-based violence, right? So I think there are more reasons to gender-based violence, and Lobola might be one of those. The real question is, to what extent is Rora causing gender-based violence rather than it is the cause of gender-based violence, because that statement is unsubstantiated.
And I'm very curious to hear what Speedo would say regarding Lobola. What do you think? You think it should stick around, or let's get rid of this thing?
Basically, I think it should just stick around. I mean, when we look at it, as much as people look at it as a way of trying to get money and, pay them for how much they took care of the child, when we look at some of the things that are then stated during Lobola, there's a lot of stuff. It's not just money that's just going up front. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, perfectly.
Yeah, it's not just money that's just going because I'm just saying, okay, fair enough, I'm just paying Lobola. There's certain things that are, that are stated within Lobola that also then make sure that that custom then makes sense. It's not just me going there to purchase. So then I'm not just going into a particular supermarket and purchasing something. So basically, I think those people that have that mindset of saying that I'm purchasing a wife are totally wrong, because there's certain things that are there, there's lists that are there, there's grocery that is there, there's certain things that are being appreciated by that money that that person is going to pay a Lobola as a way of actually saying, fair enough, I appreciate that. Even when we're appreciating the mother for going through labor, for carrying the wife for 9 months, there's certain things that come with Lobola. So it's not just something that you're just going to purchase. We're actually also, appreciating both the parents for raising, the woman who you're actually going to marry. And then taking Lobola away, I think it's unfair based on the fact that a lot of ladies, fair enough, go through a lot of stuff. When it comes to submission and being obedient are two different things altogether. A lot of men expect their women to be obedient, not to be submissive. And a woman can only submit to somebody that, they can respect. I just don't, paying my bride price doesn't mean that I'm automatically submissive to you. I can be obedient, I can listen to you, but doesn't mean that I'm going to be submissive to you. So there's a lot of things that come with Lobola. It also comes out with the mindset of a man as well, of how you are going to look at your wife, the person that you married. Are you going to look at her as a person that you purchased? Do you expect her to be obedient like a servant? Or are you expecting her to be submissive? Are you giving her the basis of her to be submissive? Because at the end of the day, it all began with Adam, and then Eve came above. So at the end of the day, if a man gives me a reason to be submissive, if I can love you, if you can love me, I can be submissive to you. So then again, it comes back with a man's mindset. Does violence then solve everything? Do I have to be just because I paid Lobola? Who asked you? Did anyone tie your shoelace? Did anyone arrest you? Did anyone send you to my house? You chose to. So certain things we don't need to point fingers. No one needs to blame anybody. Did you decide to sit in for the whole Lobola proceedings? Yes, you did. Did I tie anything? Did I? You did it by yourself because you wanted to marry me as your wife. So I'm a life partner. I'm not a product that you purchased and went into a shop. Nobody asked you to do any of those things, but you chose to. You see, as a man, you chose to. You worked your own feet, you put the resources together to go and appreciate because you thought I was supposed to be the queen. So if you don't treat me as a queen and you treat me as a doormat, it has nothing to do with me and the bride price that you were charged by my parents. It has something to do with you because you forcefully lied to yourself and lied to the people that you are paying a bride price to, that you can be that man that they expect that child of theirs that you have just paid Lobola for. I don't know. I'm just saying. So there's no reason for us to say, all right, let's change culture.
You mentioned something that struck a nerve.
Man up, or just man up. A man is as good as his word.
I'm scared I'm going to forget this point, Speedo. You mentioned something quite interesting. You're touching a lot of areas, and you touched about obedience and submission. Wow, that's another one we're going to get into. But I wanted to say, speaking of obedience and submission that you touched, right? It sounds as though you are saying that there's no fairness after that, where a man would think, he owns the woman and stuff. I want to ask you this question. What is your understanding of equality in a marriage or relationship?
Basically for me, it's giving each other opportunities, being able to understand each other. If I can listen to what you want, basically I can actually be able to say, okay, fair enough, you want to achieve A, B, C, D. With the visions and goals that we have set as a couple, can we actually attain those things? So I believe equality is not just giving me an opportunity to be a leader, or a man just getting an opportunity to be a leader. As much as I've got that, as people are going to advocate for me to get an opportunity to do that, I should also work for that opportunity. I shouldn't take for granted the fact that, okay, people are advocating for us women to get that opportunity. Just as much as the man is working to get that job, so should I, as a woman, work to get to that job, so that at least when we look at each other, we look at each other as equals. So even in a marriage as well, I should have an equal opportunity with my husband, but reasonable opportunities. Not every opportunity that every opportunity that as a woman I can say will be availed to me, because the men can do certain things that women can't do, and women can do certain things that men can do. So at the end of the day, I feel sometimes we take these things of equality a few minutes, a few steps too far. Sometimes we just need to use your brain. Think what functions for my marriage, what functions for me and my husband. In our culture, we are friends, we're companions. We're not competitors to the same extent of saying, okay, fair enough, you've gotten this opportunity, so I should get that opportunity. What do we want to get at the end of the day?
Interesting. Anybody want to comment on Speedo's response? I want to leave that
open. Well, I was going to just chime in, I guess, whenever I had my opportunity to speak on the issue. But I think I love at least, kind of coming from having everybody kind of spoken and kind of hearing everybody's, perspectives on this. Actually, I wanted to comment what Speedo was just talking about as far as equality is concerned, that, it's correct to say, I want, equal opportunities, but I think the practicality of it in a marriage is still lost. To say, what exactly do you mean is being equal? Does that mean when, your husband comes in and says, we're buying a car, you're saying, no, we're buying a motorbike. What happens in that situation? What does equality look like? So I think we usually have people talk about these things, but they're very vague about them. The other thing I wanted to touch on, because I really don't want to just kind of like take your time, you guys, but I wanted to also talk about the submission thing. To say in the West, probably me and Vincent, I guess we've been fortunate or unfortunate to meet Western or modern women. And that is a different animal to everybody that has not dealt with that. To say the issue of submission is thought of and looked at differently here than it would be back home. Naturally, I think a woman should be submissive. It should be the way she was raised. She sees her mother do that for her father. She understands what that means. She understands it's not weakness to serve or cater to a man, but she has power, but she has diplomatic power. Like, for example, I always laugh when my mom wants something, she'll never come straight in our faces and say something. By the way, my mom stays here with us in Dallas. But if my mom wants something, she'll just say certain things to my dad or say certain things to me or whoever she thinks is able to make certain things happen. And we will make those things happen on her behalf. Like, and that is really like something I'll be laughing with my dad. I'm like, did she just make us do that? But she did it very politely. And I'm like, wow. So who's really in charge here? Because we seem to be doing things on her, orders, but she finds a way of making them happen. Versus what most women now will do, will come in your face and they want to tell you, no, I'm not doing that. And which is a masculine type of energy. And it's obviously not attractive to us as men. Because I'm not trying to be with another man in the house. If I wanted a man, I would have gotten another man. They're probably even a lot more enjoyable to be around. No offense to women. Yeah. But like, I'm just saying, men, when we are hanging out as men, we can understand each other a lot more. There's no emotions, there's no feelings or anything like that. So if I'm going to deal with all that, I really want guys to understand, when you come into a marriage, I feel like you don't need a bridal price to be submissive. It should be part of you. If it becomes, because you pay the bridal price, it's now conditional.
Now you are making yourself a commodity.
Exactly. Because if there are conditions for you to be submissive, then the opposite of submission is me being masculine and providing for my wife. Are there any conditions that I also want for me to provide for you? Because if it's like, if you're not submissive to me, then you're not eating tonight. Then it's not going to work. It's obvious. The other thing that I wanted to talk about as far as Lobola, which is, I think Vincent was using bridal price and Lobola interchangeably. For all our non-Zimbabwean or non-African speakers, Lobola just means bridal price. You might be surprised, what are they talking about, Lobola? It's just a bridal price. I would almost equate it to an engagement ring in Western customs. How just, before you get married, there's something you do, it's customary, it's known. But in Zimbabwe, I think the reason why it's really gone off the rails is not really anything sinister. I think everyone is a good person. Every father is a good person. Not anyone is trying to scam, their sons-in-laws. But we're just poor. And poverty makes people do stuff like this. They find a way of getting an easy buck, and someone is trying to marry their daughter, and they can customarily ask for anything they want. They're going to do that. They have every incentive to do so. So it's understandable why it's gone that way. I think if we want to fix those problems, just kind of create, a successful country economically, and people are not going to be trying to make sure they are set for retirement using Lobola. And I guess the violence issue that Vincent was talking about, I don't want to go into it because he's already spoken on it.
Wow. I heard Clarice laughing. You sound like you wanted to weigh in on something. I don't want to make people forget their stuff. So please share with us that thought.
Okay.
Bring it on, sister.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You said this thing with submission. Yeah, I don't know this thing with submission. So let me talk to you about one relationship that I had before. So the guy was like, I can't deal with you. And I'm like, why can't you deal with me? And it's like, you're always arguing, you're always asking questions. I can't handle someone like you. And I'm thinking, so what's wrong with me? And I think I was 17, 18 at that time, like the first relationship. I was excited and stuff. And he starts telling me that I'm too much to handle. Like, I'm someone who might become a minister one day, someone who might become a president one day. My aspirations are just too high up there. So I'm thinking, you're saying, so a woman's submission, soft strength. You talked about soft strength, being able to manipulate, being able. I'm not that kind of a woman. I'm a woman who's going to tell you, your nose is too big and your nose is too big. Full stop. Get it fixed. Whatever. I'll tell you, you can't leave your trousers lying here just because I'm your wife. I'm that kind of a person. So I think we have an image, of a woman, like what a woman should be, and we also have an image of what a man should be. But at the end of the day, we are different in so many ways, whether we are male or female. You might find out, Kuti, you are actually cleaner, or you are actually a better cook than your wife or than a woman at the end of the day. So we actually have differences, like as men or as women. So when it comes to like women are supposed to have soft strength, I'm not for that. I'm like, women are supposed to have influence wherever they have influence, and they have to use their power however they have to use it. And I don't care whether you like it or you won't like it, but I'm going to do things my way.
I see why she was laughing.
So that's just me.
Do you want me to chime back, or does anybody want to speak? Because I feel like we've kind of spoken and everybody has spoken. Okay, so Clarice, my question to you is, what do men look for in women? I understand you have your preferences and things you're willing to do and not do, but what do you think men are looking for in a woman? Because that question is what's important for women out. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you add?
Okay, I believe, one of our popular socialites would say, "Bumakwitiswa." Men look for a woman they can really walk on. No offense.
Walk on or work on? What did you say?
Walk on, like literally. Walk.
Oh,
step on.
Women like men.
Yes. Yes, really? Men.
No, she said men like women. They can
men like women.
Okay. I thought it was the opposite. All right.
That was different.
Yeah.
As long as Fido is going to be soft-spoken, like you say, as long as she doesn't have ambition, you can come home as late as you want and just say, that's what men do. That's what men do in our culture. If my husband beats me up because maybe I've done something small or like a slap or something, it's because you did something wrong. That's what you are told, auntie. But because I can't, I'm a weak person. So I believe it's when I spoke about submission, what I was trying to say was, at the end of the day, do you know you as a man make me submit? Yes, my mom can be respectful to my dad, but have you ever noticed that men turn women to be the people that they are? When a woman switches off out of a marriage, it's because of how you are treating her. She can love you, she can do everything, but she can't love and submit to you at the same time. My job is to submit to you, but are you willing to lay down your life for your wife? Do you actually totally understand what you're supposed to do? Love your wife. For me to submit to my husband, it's easy because you love me. Which woman doesn't like attention? Which woman doesn't like to be spoiled? I would be insane for me not to even say, my king, when you buy me my chocolate, when you are there for me, when you pamper me, when you're showering me with love. I will obviously be on your knees, my Lord. Why? Because you take care of me. When I need you, you are there. You are there to provide for me. But it starts with you. That's why I said Adam started and then Eve came. Adam was given, all right, let's manage the Garden of Eden for those that are Christian. Anjo. I am there as the helper. Yes.
Just a question. The things that you referred to as loving you from your husband, did you notice that all of them was him providing for you, showering you, pampering you? All those things require money. Now, it's because women like that kind of stuff, right? And the reason why Dumi was those are the things that women look for in a man who can provide, who can protect, who can provide security. Now, when Dumi was asking, what do you look for in a man? Those things are pretty relevant. But what do you think? What do you girls think that we look for in a woman?
Yes. What
That's
do we
the question.
Want? We've heard your side. We know you guys want flowers and everything. Now, what do we want?
There's a difference between what you think men want in a woman and what they actually want. If you ask that question, you realize that those are two different things. And this masculine energy that I was referring to is something that most men do not want. This thing of, I want to become a prime minister, I want to be ambitious, I want to be a career woman. Most men don't care about your career or how much money you make, because it's just that the way that we are as men. And to you, it's just the way that you are. Women want to be catered for and provided for. So why do our needs as men get sidelined when it comes to relationships, and the needs of women are put forward?
Mr. Tabela, you want to add something?
No, but wait, Admire. Before you do that, I asked the ladies what we look for. That question has not been answered. You need to answer.
Can I answer that?
Yes.
Can I answer that?
Please.
Someone told me every man is looking for a woman who's more like their mother. So you need someone to mother you. And so that's my assumption. And so here's what I'm saying. What does Paul say in the Bible? Paul in the Bible says marriage is not for everyone. If you don't like my ambitions and whatever, then move over. Life goes on. And if I don't like you as a man and I don't like the way you are, the way you carry yourself and stuff, I'll let you go. This is the generation of women who are not compromising, because we saw our mothers compromise. We saw our grandmothers compromise for their dreams, their hopes, and their aspirations, for men who were ill-raised, who were not properly raised by the very same mothers, by the very same grandmothers. So
okay, I like what you're saying. I understand. And what are your results as modern women? Are you guys getting better results than your mothers?
My results as a modern woman is that I'm actually seeing my hopes and aspirations coming to life.
No. I'm saying as far as pairing with a man and having a life with a man and building families. Are you guys better off that? You do have jobs and you have degrees, but as far as families, are you better off than your mothers?
Marriage is not for everyone. Stop.
Oh God.
I grew up in a. Can I say something?
Come in, say something.
If it means for me to stay with my husband, it means that I put my dreams away and I compromise, and my husband goes about doing his stuff. If that's what you mean by staying married. I grew up in a home where my dad and my mom separated partially. But I hated what happened to my mom, because my mom is a great woman. She's a person that could aspire and have done a lot. But because she tolerated my dad and my dad's nonsense, my mom right now, as a child, I still feel like I owe my mom a lot, because she's the one that took care of me. My dad used to get a lot of money. But what did my dad do with that money? Nothing. My mom took care of every single thing. I had to carry most of the burdens for I didn't do what I wanted to do as a child, just because my dad was out there being a boy. If you want to be a man, be a man. Stop being boys. Stop expecting another child, another person who's coming from their mother's house to mother you to being a man. If you think you're a man, go on. Face death for your wife. And then the day, what am I trying to say to you? If it means, Gucci, And then right now, with modern women, have a job. But do you know my job is more than my husband's job because I'm a woman. Certain things I can do and cannot do. But if I allow my marriage and my society and culture to take control of everything, as a personality, to be honest, I won't go far. I'm limited and I get into depression. Why? Because you're out there drinking with your friends, you're out there doing whatever you're doing. And I'm still sitting at home being that good wife. And my dreams are there and they're not getting where they're supposed to be. So for us modern women, what do we do? All right, you're doing what you're doing. I go for my degrees, I go for my diplomas, I upgrade myself whilst you're doing whatever you're doing. When you decide to stop partying all night and all this and, stop being abusive or manipulative with your words just because you are a man, I will then also then include you in your stuff. You find out women will go and buy stands without the husband knowing. Women will go to school in secret without the husband knowing. Women will do all these things to protect themselves. Why? Because at the end of the day, as a modern woman, I am not going to sit around like what my mother did. Where my mom right now, she's still at the same job she was when she was given birth to. So
Spedo, you've been saying what you've been saying, I've been hearing you. I think consistency that I've picked up is, you see, when a woman ends up with a guy that beats her, the accountability should not just go on the guy. I'm pretty sure there were signs that guy was a wife beater or a violent person before they got married, and she ignored those signs. You don't just start getting a guy that's abusive or verbally abusive or that is not ambitious or going anywhere when you get married. And it's like, oh, when we got married, that's when he lost all ambition. The guys that most girls are entertaining are the guys that exactly have nothing to offer. Now, I don't know what it looks like in Zimbabwe, but especially out here in the West, women do not get help vetting men from other men, at least, or fathers, or people that are like male figures in their lives. And they choose poorly. Most of it is sexual. They pick a guy because he looks hot. They pick a guy because all the other girls like him, or because he can put it down in the bedroom. Then when you get with that guy, you complain that this guy does not have all the other qualities that you're looking for. You can't come and blame those guys. And the other thing that most girls do is they go for the same 20% of those hot guys that everyone is looking for and ignore all the other guys that might not be really cute, but that will really take care of them. So you can miss me with these guys beating their wives or drinking and leaving their wives, and because you guys also choose poorly. Right off the bat, you guys choose who you entertain. So there has to be accountability right there. And then the other thing that you did speak on, Vincent, you can comment, sorry.
Okay, I just wanted to say, what you were saying is very anecdotal. It's your experience. It happened to you. It's relevant to you and to your life. But you cannot use that and you cannot extrapolate that to what happens in general in marriages and relationships, right? Those things do happen, but I can give you another example of the opposite of like, okay, my dad was like this and my mom was like this, so it means that I as a man should do this and that. We are talking here in generalities for a good reason, because everyone has an exception. Every rule has an exception. So we cannot use anecdotes to make an argument in general. Right? The other thing I want to say about equality in general, right? Like, what do we mean exactly when we say equality? It's one word that gets thrown around and people just, appear to understand what it means, but most people don't really know what it means. Like, do you mean that a man and woman should have the same value? If that's what it means, then yes, obviously, men and women have the same value. But if what you mean is a man and a woman should be at the same level as far as household decision-making and general leadership, where decisions are made democratically through discussion, that I disagree with. Women and men, in my view, should only be equal in that when performing their roles, right, the roles themselves are equally valuable. For example, in a typical traditional marriage, you find that a man is the breadwinner. So he goes to work, he gets the money, he supports, he cleans, he supports, and the woman usually is staying at home. He's the homemaker, so she cooks, she cleans, she takes care of the kids and so on. Those two things are important. They are equally important in value. But what has happened is modern women and feminists in general and their movements have made it such that women perceive their traditional roles as less important or less valuable. So something as beautiful and almost miraculous as taking care of your own kids is now being seen as being someone's slave. And somehow feminists have managed to convince a whole generation of women that they need to act more like men in order for them to be seen as equals. That's
They're
where this
saying men are
masculine energy
superior.
comes from. Like, I have to be ambitious, I have to get my degrees, as if that's where their value comes for them to be equal. But that is not what equality is. If you think, making a roster for, who is going to clean, I'm going to clean on Tuesday and my husband will clean on Wednesday. If you think that is equality, then you're just out of your mind. What it simply means is, like, in general, most people have no idea what equality in a relationship actually means. Men and women are equal in value as human beings, but that does not mean that they are equally capable of doing what the other can do. So no matter how much I would want, I can never give birth. That's something that is valuable and it's unique to women. So this is so self-evident simply by looking at our biology, right? Men are taller, they are stronger, they are faster. Women are shorter, weaker, and slower. These are just physiological differences, but they have deeper implications about what kind of work can a man do, what kind of work can a woman do. And in a marriage, equality is what we contribute in performing our roles that are of equal value. So it's not about, I get to decide too, let's take a vote. In that case, I believe that in a marriage, a man should be the leader of that marriage. And any successful organization has one distinguished leader. That's why countries have one president and companies have one CEO. There's a reason.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. I just wanted to invite Mr. Tapela over to the floor. He's a publisher of a book called Marriage According to the Word of God. And I'm so curious to hear what would be his advice as an author of a book. Sir, please do weigh in your view of equality in a marriage according to the Word of God. We have a pastor, guys. Let's listen.
Well, it's just that, I was listening, Eddie, and I was a little bit worried there to say we are talking about an institution that is created by someone else, that we are beneficiaries in the institution. It's as simple. It's as same as a person go to study law. They become a lawyer, like my brother there. They become lawyers who will be given guidelines of how to practice their law based on what the institution says about law. Hence, they need to go out there and learn about law and understand what does the law says in every various things in life, so that whenever they are in a court of law or wherever they are, when they need to stand and show their abilities of things that they studied from the institution, so that they can be able to reach what law it's all about. And in everything in life, there is an institution that governs things that are happening in the institution. If you look at doctors, they have an institution. If you look at financial advisors, they have an institution. If you look into lawyers, they have an institution. So they all have an institution. And when coming to marriage, we also have an institution that was never created by men. Marriage was never a man-made idea. Marriage was created by God before culture, before tradition, before even religion was actually in the world. Because from the beginning, when you read the Bible, it tells you that immediately after God created male and female, he blessed them, and at that point in time, you can hear from him saying they will multiply and fill the earth, that already he had marriage in mind. That was during creation. But Genesis 2 talks about the formation of man, who was now formed into the physical that me and you can see with our own eyes, which he created Adam first. And after he created Adam, he then created Eve, and he gave these people, he created them the same time, he gave them the same values, but he gave them both different roles. And that is why when you look at how he explains women leaving their home, clinging to their husband, or husband leaving their mothers and fathers, clinging to their wives, and he is talking about the institution he created that we will benefit. And when you look at why he created it, is for his purpose and for his purpose alone. So we are part of God's plan, not our own plan. That's why even when you go into the topic of Lobola, you realize that it was never part of what God said people must do. Lobola was actually a man-made idea that actually came with Abraham. That's where it started. And if you look at it nicely, you'll find out that even in the time, it was not Abraham who went and asked for the bride price. He felt that he needed to build this relationship by taking whatever he needed to take to give to the family as an appreciation. That is why my opening statement was say, maybe we need to go back to where it was and restructure it exactly as it was restructured before. And now the whole equality and the whole misunderstanding of what is happening in marriage is because of everybody has shifted from why God created marriage in the first place. And people have forgotten that they are beneficiaries in marriage. They are not the sole proprietor, or they are not the owners of marriage. That is why when you talk about loving, when you talk about submission, I'm thinking and I'm looking at it and say, it was never a man who said you must submit to him. It was God who says you must submit to him. So whether he loves you or he doesn't love you, you just have to submit, because he's not the one who said that. And secondly, you have to love your wife, whether she's submitting or not, because she's not the one who says, who said you must love her. It is God who says so. So every time you do everything outside of the principles of marriage, you are doing something that is outside of the institution. If you do something outside the institution of law, you get in trouble with law. If you do something outside the institution of doctors and pharmacists, you get penalized for that. And exactly as it is with marriage, we find ourselves going through trying to be equal, trying to do things our own, because we have taken marriage out of what God was created it for in the first place, and we are trying to make it our own thing. And now we are living it our own way, and now it becomes difficult. And that is why even I always advise people, marriage was created by God. When it has problems, you go back to God and ask him, what do I do? That is why I loved what my brother said. Is it Vincent with the red t-shirt?
Yes.
Who said, no, it was not him who said that, but the other brother there who said, the one in Dallas, who said, you saw that your fiancé had tendencies before you married them. Why? Because of already God showed you that this person is like this. And maybe sometimes it's because of lack of knowledge or because of ignorance, I'm not sure. But those things are affected by the fact that we find ourselves moving away from why God created marriage in the first place to what we want in marriage. It's not about what we want in marriage. That's why marriage is all about sacrifice. Marriage is all about compromise. Marriage is all about allowing each other giving each other allowances to make mistakes, to make all those things, because of we're not perfect. So it's two imperfect people trying to live in this thing that we are beneficiaries of. When you understand the word beneficiary, beneficiaries, when talking insurance, they are not the ones who pays insurance, and they are not the ones who take are insured in the insurance, but they are ones who benefit in what the insurer has insured. And if you can understand that we are just benefits in what God has planned for us as human beings, you will understand definitely for sure that marriage has nothing to do with us. Now, when you come to scripture, that's when you realize that, and God is not silent about a lot of things that are happening in marriage. He's not silent about the domestic violence. He's not silent about the inequalities that people are doing. He's not. He's just saying to people, come back to me and I will show you the principles that you need to follow as people who are married.
I like what you said. I like what you said about the institution not being instituted by us, man. It was started by God. Interesting. Thank you so much. We are the pastor, guys. I'm learning.
Can I just comment on that?
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you. I'm a Christian myself. I completely agree with you. But it's, you see, every human institution, most human institutions, they were instituted by God, right? That we can agree on. Is marriage itself being primary as the first one, right? But we do not live in a world or in a society where people subscribe to the Christian faith, number one, or even believe our God, number two. So in that context, we are dealing with people as they are, not as we hope they could be. Because I, as a Christian, nothing would make me happier than to see everyone believing in Jesus Christ and following his precepts. But people are just not like that. Even some Christians, I would go so far to say some of the most stubborn women and the most difficult people to marry are Christian women. Just because there is a lot of misunderstanding that comes with interpretation of scripture and theological differences and all those things, to the point where some churches don't even allow their pastors to get married at all. So the reason why I'm saying this is because I want to bring this discussion back to reality. So there's a fantasy of we should do things as God wants us to do. We are all Christians here. We all want to do that. But that's not how the world is right now. Let's deal with the world as it is now. The solution really, like you said, man of God, is to go back to God. But we know that not all of us are going to do that. Not everyone is going to do that. So we do not live in a theocracy. We cannot impose what marriage should be. So we have to deal with the people that are currently here as they are.
Interesting. Now, thank you so much, Mr. Vincent. But before we get to the next phase, I just want us to break a little bit.
Thank you so much on behalf of the team, the Admires CloseUP team, and the AD Media team. I want to say, siyabonga. Do share your comments, guys, if you agree or disagree with anything that was said here on the show today. Don't forget, leave your thoughts. We really want to hear what you guys think. And don't forget to like again, share to your brothers and sisters and your friends, and continue to support us. We really, really do appreciate that. Until we meet again, bye for now. We are a full-service advertising agency with intentional creators who deliver innovative solutions, remarkable brands, and highly thoughtful experiences. AD Media provides a full-service brand and experience packages from start to finish. Whether your start is a blank canvas or a heritage in need of modernization, we also offer single service if you're not into that. From inspiration to execution, we develop the best ideas into projects and campaigns that allow small businesses and big corporations to effectively market their products, services, and events. To ensure successful advertising, we use quite a number of techniques, which include market research, conceptualizing, analysis, and evaluation. We execute every project and campaign with an 8-step process that delivers effective and strategic ideas in a short time frame. Whether you want to market a product, a service, a company, an event, or even you yourself, we will begin the marketing process by first establishing your target market audience and your goals. Whether you want to increase sales, improve customer experiences, or become the leader in your industry. So where are you going? Tell us, and we will show you how you can get there. For more information, contact the numbers appearing on your screen for a free consultation, and we'll take it from there.